Hello, and welcome to the 3 C's of Marriott Rewards Social Media Strategy, a one-to-one media Take 30 webcast. I'm Myla D'Antonio, Editor-in-Chief of One-to-One Media, and your moderator for today's event. Today's speaker is Michelle LaPierre, Senior Director of Customer Experience and Social Media at Marriott Rewards. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Let me review the agenda before questioning Michelle today about her, Marriott Rewards social media plan. Michelle today is going to talk about how to treat fans like friends rather than customers, how to increase Facebook fan acquisition and engagement, how to drive traffic to partner sites and increase enrollment into a loyalty program through social, and how to develop social campaigns that drive positive sentiment. So just for some background, Marriott is one of the leading travel brands that is successfully using social media to enhance the customer experience and increase loyalty through its loyalty program, Marriott Rewards. Marriott Rewards joined Facebook in December 2011, and through an emphasis on compassionate and authentic community management, the brand engages, inspires, and keeps its Facebook fans coming back to the page on a regular basis. This compassion, community, and content philosophy, hence the 3 C's, has helped to grow the program into one of the largest and most engaged hotel loyalty brands on Facebook. Michelle, can you elaborate on how social media has become an important part of your guest engagement strategy for Marriott Rewards members?
Thank you, Maya. Yes. What it does is allow us to have ongoing dialogue and conversation, and in these social channels permit us to earn and keep friendships that lead to long-lasting relationships. We are able to talk with each other about our shared interests and our shared values, demonstrate that as a brand we do share those values, that we have humanness behind us, and it allows us to get beyond product and costs and complaints, frankly. It's the responsibility and the joy of any kind of loyalty program or customer experience strategy. These relationships with our consumers, our friends, our members, it means more than just driving a consumer to a cash register. There's that responsibility of friendship, and we're able to demonstrate that and enjoy our members in a way that we haven't been able to before social.
And that must be where the authentic community management comes into play. Can you describe what that entails?
Yeah, in the beginning, we spent a great deal of time up front trying to understand what our brand personality is in human terms. So deliberately moving away from brand style guides, from that really contained idea that a brand should control its identity. We wanted to bring it into that human perspective. So we use archetypes, which is an old and ancient way of describing personality types. And we tested a variety of voices that we thought were ours, and we have more than one, and challenge ourselves to speak like a human. I call it permission to be human, and remind ourselves and remind our fans and followers that we're people a lot like you. You're not speaking to a templated voice. You're not speaking to an automatron. You are talking to real peeps. And then the other part of authentic is that we really have increased our level of moderation way over averages to give ourselves time to respond to posts that have a neutral and positive sentiment, as well as somebody who's just got a problem to be solved. So it goes beyond just being able to handle that negative or that complaining voice. We give ourselves time to really engage in the conversation in that neutral and positive territory as well. And that's what you do with your friends. You don't just complain with them all the time. So when you know that you're authentic, is when your fans and your followers return to hang out with you, to chat time and time again. And that's what we watch and see.
And so would you say that authenticity is the reason why many of your fans return to engage with your brand via your social strategies over and over?
I think so. I think it's because they believe, and it's true, that they are talking with other humans. And in our world, we're increasingly keeping ourselves from that human touch. Well, we're giving that human touch as much as we can in our social channels.
And your social media philosophy, it aims to keep life at the center of the story, not the deals and the discounts. What does that mean?
If we only spoke about our product, if we only spoke about that, then people would get bored. It's like a friendship. If you only speak about yourself, if you only talk about yourself, people aren't going to be your friends, right? They're not going to hang with you. So the other thing that does is if you're only talking about product or you're only talking about price, you're moving yourself down that hierarchy of needs. You're moving it into a commodity. We know that people don't think about travel 24/7, 365. We know that people don't define themselves that way. And so we want to demonstrate that we get them and that we know them. So we talk about stuff that we know is important to all of us. I love this Puxatawny Phil post that you're showing here. It got great lift, and because it was all on our minds that day. And we know it's important. We know the weather is important. We know that we're cold and cranky at this point, or wet, depending on where you live. So we interact with content that our members find meaningful, and try to get to that first question, which is, what do I need? What do I want? What's important to me? The product stuff follows.
So what do you attribute to how and why your social program has continued to grow since launching?
I think first and foremost, we have established ourselves as being trustworthy. So that means we continuously, we speak in a consistent voice, we consistently be human, we deliver relevant and valuable content. We also stick around. So that means if someone has an issue, we stick with them until we get them into the place where they can get it fixed. If they're cranky with us, we'll take it. If they love us, we'll take that too. We stick around. We're engaging. We're not in it just to put our toe in the water. We're in it full on, and we're not going anywhere. That's the external why we've been continuing to grow. Internally, we support business objectives beyond driving customer engagement. For example, we just launched a Say Hi to Wi-Fi campaign where it's a contest and people can enter and, win free Wi-Fi in their homes for a year. That's supporting a business objective of all of our hotels offering free Wi-Fi to members who book direct with us. So we can take what we do in social and we can apply it to a serious business objective. That also allows us to continue receiving resources and funding and attention and a more serious consideration at the table when we're talking about resource allocation, et cetera.
That's great. So part of the challenge many brands have is then getting the people they engage with via social to take action then on their site or maybe partner sites. Can you talk about your strategy for how you're driving fans to partner sites like Chase, Marriott Rewards credit card? How do you do that, and what has been the result?
The best way I can answer that, Mia, is really to sort of give you an example of how we do it. It's, I don't have sort of 3 bullet points for that, but I can tell you that it is beyond a call to action. It's not just something that says do this or go there or get this card or anything like that. So with our card partner, our co-brand partner, they hold a variety of cardholder events throughout the country. And one of the things we knew wasn't us in our human personality was that sort of look what you didn't get invited to, look at all these pictures of these events that, happened in the past and you weren't invited, and that just doesn't feel well with us. We know everybody can't attend these events, but we try to make them as interactive as possible. So we find creative ways to be inclusive and to engage throughout the whole process, such as last year we did a Nashville country music event. But way before that event, way before people were even invited, we started by posting a cocktail recipe and had a Name That Cocktail contest. Nobody won anything. It's just, what do you think that this cocktail should be named? Got all kinds of interaction. Well, we took that to the event, and we video these events, and then we close the loop always on all of the things we do. So it comes back to our social channels with these video vignettes. One of them was recounting this ingredient list and the person's name who named it. It's called the Nashville Smash. It's really cool. And we give them a shout-out. So we did another one with chefs, and we invited our Facebook community to give us questions that they wanted us to ask the chefs during this event, and then did a series of videos with the chefs answering those specific questions. So it's not just about the event. It's about that inclusive beginning to end, and bringing people in, even if they can't physically be there. That creates a reputation and credibility with our partners in engagement and, again, that friendship beyond any just simple call to action.
Do you then use the same approach to in using social to drive enrollment in your loyalty program, Marriott Rewards?
Yes, we don't have events for that necessarily, but we do use our social partners' insight tools, and for Facebook we use a custom audiences offering, other targeting tools, and so we have a good understanding of who our audience is, who we would like to have in our membership, in our program, et cetera. The campaign that you're looking at here actually did begin before the entire promotion. We just asked our Facebook fans to share their perspective photos, and we got an unbelievable array of really clever and awesome imagery. They didn't know it at the time, but we were collecting it to use in a broader promotion. Now, we did get their permission and all of that. But then it turned up in print, it turned up in digital, it turned up in SEO, it turned up back in Facebook also, and we used those as our join acquisition campaign. We knew by repurposing this imagery into these invitations to join that we were using content we knew would resonate, because it started with our Facebook fans. And for them to be able to see the pictures, the images that they took, has just been a hoot. I mean, they've loved it. They think it's really great. So they end up sort of owning not only the page, but they own the program a little bit. It's sort of theirs too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How are all these efforts working to drive positive sentiment for the brand?
Well, let me say first of all that positive sentiment is actually driven by our product, our properties, the associates that give that kind hospitality at that brick and mortar. I mean, that's really where the sentiment begins. So shout out to all my 4,000 hotels and 250,000 associates around the world. Some of the pundits and analysts inside social media think that any sentiment is good sentiment, because if you care enough to make a statement or engage with us, that's all perfectly fine. That said, we all know that we like kisses more than we like kicks. So we sort of have given the keys over in terms of defining what the brand looks like on our social pages. For example, on Facebook, our timeline photos have been our fan photos for the longest time. They're so excited when they see it. They share it. Again, it's that shared ownership. It's knowing that we're listening to them and that they're part of the conversation, and we nod back and forth. So it's really a very real scenario. I think that is part of the secret, that we have that permission to be human with each other, and they know that we're there. And we demonstrate that. We tell them that we love these pictures, or these pictures are so funny, and we highlight and display them proudly. And I think that creates a lot of goodwill and trustworthiness and friendship.
Definitely. How are you then measuring the ROI of your social campaigns?
Well, we're like everybody else. We're trying really hard to understand the relevance of the metrics in these social channels beyond just revenue. So we use the Oracle Social Platform to track engagement and reach and impressions and mentions and shares and influencers and all the kinds of things that everybody else looks at. It's hard to pin a solid ROI on any kind of marketing campaign, oftentimes. So we struggle with that as much as everyone else does. I think the technology is starting to get better, and our understanding of how these social channels perform, particularly they perform differently than other marketing channels. And so one of the things we have done is we have been successful in saying you can't just apply traditional marketing metrics over to social. They're sort of apples and oranges in some cases. And so we've been real successful there, and our business partners are joining the search with us to try to find those relevant metrics. I wish I had an answer for you. I'd be a millionaire.
Well, one of the biggest challenges that many companies everywhere in every industry has is, engaging with customers via social. What would you say is the one biggest mistake many brands make when doing this?
What I feel the biggest mistake is using templated responses or sounding non-human. And again, this is an example of what I would call a lift and shift of perceived skills and capabilities. And so if you think about any kind of interaction any of us have had with a call center or customer service or any of that, when you're getting the line that's been pre-fed to them. And all you crave is like a real human to listen to what you have to say, good, bad, or otherwise. We got a question recently about, well, we just got engaged. We're going to Italy. Where should we go? I mean, we could have said, well, you should stay at our hotels. But no, we didn't do that. We really talked with freedom about, well, hey, we know some people in Italy. Here's how we've done it, that kind of thing. So templated responses, people can smell it a mile away. Stop it. Stop the brochure speak. Give yourselves permission to be human.
No, that's really great advice. I'm just curious. Do you teach this then to your social media agents? How do you? I guess what is the training offered to help them engage in these human ways?
I have a very controlled group of moderators who we have spent a great deal of time immersing in the brand personality, what's important. Loyalty programs are very complicated, and so a lot of times we'll be asked a question that if the moderators aren't comfortable, they know to come right to me. So I'm sort of air traffic control. It's not scalable in the long term, but over time, my moderators who stick around a long time because they really have gotten sort of into this community too, then they start knowing the answers and how to respond. We meet all of the time. We parse our words, and we challenge each other in terms of, you've been saying, that's awesome too much. How about we stop that? Or instead of saying, no problem, say, you're welcome or my pleasure. We've really challenged ourselves to stay authentic. It's so easy to not do it, particularly if you're busy with a lot of posts. But it's so important, and we think that's sort of the secret sauce for us.
That's great. So let's just wrap up with a trends question. What are some of the trends you expect to see in social for the hospitality industry in the coming months?
I certainly see way more content development, production, and distribution, not only aimed at millennials but cross-generationally. So getting past this product orientation, also moving into other channels like Snapchat and Instagram and others, a little more Wild West out there than some of them, but I can see this broadening across the channels and globalization. So beyond the United States, depends on the brand, but with global brands, you have to be able to do things in native language. You have to be able to have these social presences in the cultures that you're in, and you've got to be able to figure out how to pull through that in the other cultures. So more content development, broader distribution and range. And then the third one is I think you'll see a better use of social selling in the B2B environment. So beyond direct-to-consumer, that I think there's going to be hopefully there's going to be an explosion on that B2B side because there's a lot of opportunity there, a little bit harder to pull off other than just basic boring lead generation. I'd like you to be, connected with me on LinkedIn or whatever. That just gets boring, but I think there's going to be some movement in there.
Great insight. I'm looking forward to see how some of these will play out over the course of the year.
Me too.
So, thank you so much, Michelle, for your time. This concludes the 3 C's of Marriott Rewards Social Media Strategy, a one-to-one media Take 30 webcast. On behalf of the entire team, thank you and have a great day.